Welcome, everybody. It's the next episode of MSP Business School. My name is Brian Doyle, and I'm here today with Robb Rogers and Tim McNeil, as always. How you guys doing?
Good.
Fantastic, my friend.
You know, we're heading into the summer season now. Things are getting warm for the three of us up here in the north. For those that maybe just experienced this, we're recording this on the back end of the heat wave. So, it was 50 degrees the week before and it was 90 the next week. That's how we roll up here in the Northeast, right? But
we could go home
in 6 days.
We hope everybody's starting to enjoy their summers, and as things are opening up, getting out there, I really hope some of you are listening to this podcast while you're sitting by the pool, maybe with a cocktail in hand. But, the fact that you chose us as the thing to listen to, that says a little something about you, I guess. Dedication, perseverance.
That's right.
Working for the cause, right?
Right, the top 1%ers.
That's it. So I think today we were going to, we decided we were going to talk a little bit about conflict, right? We always like to talk about kind of accelerating the business and developing the business, but the reality is that doesn't come without its set of challenges as well. And, one of the things I've noticed is the way an MSP handles a conflict, handles a problem, dictates the success long-term for that relationship, right? I don't know how you guys feel about that.
100%. It's easier to invest money into reducing your churn than it is to invest in growing your business, right? So 100%, you've got to, understand and process out your conflict resolution, whether it's client success teams or whatever it is. You got to be able to do that.
And it doesn't matter. You could be the most efficient MSP in the country, in North America. But things still happen, and it's how you handle it after it happens that's how you get your name, and that's how you get those bandwagon, like, just livid fan, or those fans that will be with you forever. It's how you resolve that issue. That's the most important thing, for sure.
Yeah, and there's a statement, I made it prior to us getting joining together today. There's a statement that we use a lot. Bad news doesn't get better with age, but a lot of people are very apprehensive to take that bad news. They're hoping almost like there's going to be some magic thing our engineers are going to do behind the scenes in the next 20 minutes to make this a moment, right? But the reality is, it doesn't get better. And with most customers, what they need is the information, right? And one of the things that I've always tried to explain to people that are on the teams I work with is, when a customer is upset with you, it's because it's rolling downhill most of the time. Somebody's on their case and they've got to get answers, and you've got to help provide them. Even if it's the business owner that's the person that's yelling at you, or most concerned. I shouldn't say yelling, because nobody really gets too crazy sometimes. But when they're fired up like that, it's because it's impacting their business, but more importantly, their team's coming to them. And let's face it, as managers, we're really beholden to our team. So it's less about that top down, but it's more about the rank and file struggling to get things done because of something that's occurring there, and it just becoming this repeated conversation they're having internally. So, my first step in the process is get out in front of the problem. Once you acknowledge it's there, and that there's at least not a quick fix on the imminent horizon, you got to pick up that phone and strike first. We all talk about being proactive as MSPs, not reactive. Well, if that's the case, I used to go nuts when my customer would call me about something that was already alerted on, right? Something that my help desk should have caught, and we did not know that answer, right? So, the point there is be proactive, get in front of it. And, there's a way to approach it with your customer too. Be firm, be honest, don't sugarcoat it if it's a real bad problem, but make sure that they're informed. Hey, Tim, Exchange server's down right now, or, emails offline. I understand what that means to your business. It's a communication lifeline. As such, we've given it priority 1 support already. It's been escalated to the highest level. In doing that, though, I can't guarantee you a resolution time, because we haven't yet found the root cause on the system and or the service. And if it's an Office 365 type problem, or an outage like we experienced at the time of our recording yesterday with the outages thanks to Fastlane, we don't have control of those things, but we're going to do everything within our power to bring it back as fast as you can. In the meantime, I'm going to keep you status at XXX interval, right? And you really got to make that interval into what you expect this problem to be. Don't commit 15-minute intervals if you know it's going to be a 5-hour problem. You know, hey, I'll contact you in an hour, expect this to be a multi-hour problem, and understand they're going to be upset, and let them vent if they're upset. You know, I used to tell my team that 90% of what I do is taking shrapnel for you, right? I'm there to provide you air cover because you guys are the ones that know how to fix it. I don't. So let me go out there, get bloodied up in the process, but I'm going to cover your backs at the same time and make sure you guys look good, because we also need to restore faith after this problem's over. And if I go in there throwing, and this is a critical one because I've seen guys on my team do it, if you go throw one of your team members under the bus, all you've done is reduce the faith that's already being tested in that moment. So you really have to look at this and say, you know, somebody's got to step up and, you know, jump on the landmine, as they say, and really just, you know, take one for the team, for the greater good. You guys have any thoughts on that?
I'll go first, Tim.
Yeah.
So we have built our careers off of 3 pillars of what you need to do as an MSP. You need to have communication, you need to have trust, and responsiveness. Those are the 3 things that if you can do those right, we as salespeople, Tim and I, who are calling into the prospect and trying to steal your business, we're not going to be able to get in. We're selling responsiveness, communication, and trust to try and get you away. The behavior of the IT person generally is that I love to solve problems. And when they can't solve the problem, they kind of pull back a little bit. And they don't want to talk to the prospect or to their client until after they have a solution. But the client doesn't want a solution. The solution is to contact the customer and communicate. When we're talking to prospects, every time that they're pissed off at their current MSP, it's because of communication, responsiveness, or trust. So all you have to do is communicate. That's the solution, not the solving of the issue. So that I would encourage any business owner that's listening to understand that behavior for your team and make sure that that's what you're protecting them from. That it's not the solve, it's the communication is the real solution.
Well, in just an extension of that is, I think a lot of I think Rob and I do it a lot internally, and I know a lot of MSPs that do it internally. You know, come to us with solutions, not problems, right? So this is a little different. It's kind of a different mindset when a real issue happens with a client of an MSP. You, to your point, Brian, you don't necessarily always have the time to figure out the solution, but if you get ahead of it and say, look, we don't have a solution right now, but we are working on it. As soon as I know. And that's where I'll give you our updates. And if I know before then, you'll know. It's more about making the prospect, or making the client feel like they understand that this is priority number 1 for you and your company.
You are as concerned as them. That's what they want to know.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you know, I'll say this a specific example of this. When we ran our data centers, a number of years ago, we unfortunately did experience an interesting outage one evening. The automatic transfer switch just didn't cut over, and in the middle of that, when there was a power outage in the area, and because of where it actually got stuck, we were informed by the electrician not to touch it because it could actually arc and kill somebody, right? So we were stuck in this middle of that. We knew we were going to be out for a while. I mean, the mere fact of getting an electrician out of bed and to our location at 2 a.m. told us all that we needed to know. So we set up a crisis hotline. We basically sent out an email. We had the belts and suspenders for communication to make sure we could email out if something happened within our data center. And we emailed all of our customers. We also sent text messages to all of our customers telling them that our hotline was open. We opened up a conference bridge, and somebody was responsible for manning that conference bridge as long as this resolution happened, even if nobody was on the line. That way, the minute somebody came on the line, they can address whatever problem they had. Now, I'm not saying you got to go to that extreme for every problem we have as an MSP, but the point being is the comfort is in the communication. Yeah. So if we were able to at least let them know that there's somebody out there listening, acknowledging them and providing with status, they've got something to take to their teams. The reality is nobody did this maliciously, right? In that case, it's not like the MSP said, let's take down our customer, so, everybody will appreciate that. But I think the biggest area that people fail is after the crisis is over, the post-crisis resolution. I'll give you my take on that in a minute, but what do you guys think about that?
Well, explain more about what you mean there, Brian. That's
All
interesting.
right, so so Rob, you and I had a problem. You're my customer, right? And I call you up and say, "Hey, Rob, good news. We're back online. Mail's flowing. We expect that all the mail bagging will drop all that email into your system in an hour. So we're back where we're at. Anything else you need from me right now? No. All right, cool. Well, let me know if you need anything. Thanks, right? And we think we've just done a great postmortem because we let them know they were back online, and we told them if you need something, give us a call." But really what we need to do is, but what you're not taking into account, one of the biggest things that people miss at this point is we don't know where we stand in the trust ladder right now. We don't know if they're just happy to be back online and fine, that's great, and thanks for letting me know. And there's, and of course you're going to hear a little relief in their voice because their problem has been solved. But that doesn't mean that relief means you're on good footing now, right? So one of the things that I used to do, and this is something I know not many do today, I would schedule a meeting immediately the first thing the next morning. I would let them catch up, do what they needed to do that day. Now it's about them. But the next morning, before I hit anybody else, I would have a call on I would make sure I gave them a call. If I got them live, great. But a lot of times I'd make that call to make sure when they came into work, it was on their voicemail. And I would also send them an email and say, look, I want to schedule a meeting this week where I can come in, postmortem, action plan on what we're going to do to take steps to either, I'm not going to promise that we won't have a situation that happens again, but what steps we're taking to make sure that we're continuing to see these things as fast as we can. And I want to hear how we can better improve our communication back to you, or what your thoughts were there. Now, oftentimes we'd hear, no, your guys' communication was great, but this stinks. But the point is, you want to, in my opinion, humbly, you want to make an appearance at that point. We've gotten very conditioned to remote, but there's nothing better than a face-to-face moment, and let those people, whether they want to take a pound of flesh or they just do it, they want to just know that they mattered enough, that you're stopping what you're doing, you're going to see them, and you want feedback. And if you do that, that's a great first step to just building back that trust that you may have lost in this situation. Now, it's not going to answer everything, but nobody's going to argue somebody that sincerely is coming with no agenda to just hear where we can get better. And that's really how you have to go in there and do it. And everything's fine. And they say, hey, it happened. You really didn't need to do this. No, I did. Because our relationship matters.
Brian, who does that? Does the person who initiated the conversation to begin with do it?
I think it depends on the severity. I'll say this, it depends on the severity of the problem, Rob, okay? If it's something small, easy, look, you got to weigh that too, but I'm going to go on the presumption of there was an outage that impacted more than one person in this, right? If we got desktop outages, those kind of things, they happen. But if we have an outage that took out a department or greater, I would say at a bare minimum, the account manager, if they're the biggest point in liaison, needs to go out and do that. But if the problem was big enough that it could really put the relationship at risk, or you felt during this crisis that the relationship was at risk, there needs to be executive support at some level. And that depends on the size of your organization. If you're a smaller MSP, well, that's probably going to fall right to the business owner. If you're a larger scale MSP, it probably should include somebody with at least a director in their title, preferably a VP. Right. And then, and then work from there, because you want the customer to know it matters. Now, there might be some contract pieces that play on that. If the customer's $500 a month and you're not really too worried if you lose them, maybe you don't go executive level at that stage, or you play it at the next layer. But, let's just go on this. It's in your top half of your roster, right? I don't think I think any executive would say it's worth a 1 hour meeting not to lose a $20,000 a year contract.
Of course.
100%.
Because even if 20,000 is not the end all be all, it's going to impact your head count somewhere down the line, one way or another.
Yeah.
So that's my take on it.
Well, yeah. I mean, look, you lose one of those a year, and most companies can overcome that. Most MSPs can overcome that, almost all. But you start losing 4, 5, 6 of those a year, you got a real problem, right? And that just goes back to what Rob was saying with the communication, and ultimately, in a roundabout way, response time too. Even though it already happened, you're responding. You're being almost proactive from the standpoint of if this happens again, they know that you're going to be on it, before, during, and after, which not everybody does. So that's a really good idea.
Yeah, I mean, again, I just always go back to that. Everything trickles downhill. So as long as you're willing to take responsibility, get out in front of your customer, be there, communicate early, and take the hit when the hit comes, that things will work out. Bad things happen. One of the beauties of our industry is you usually have to run over their cat 9 times before they'll entertain somebody new. But the truth is, you can only get away with it for so long. And there is still even trust. And that trust translates into other parts of your business. A lot of these small to mid-sized business customers are buying on blind faith from us. They believe we're the authority. They don't understand the technology, but they believe they're doing right by us. If we have too many missteps, even if they keep us on, it's going to start slowing down the things that matter to us, the sales cycles and the refresh schedules and those things that impact our service capabilities, because they're going to start questioning our judgment, questioning our capabilities, and slowing those things down. So it all has a trickle-down effect. And it really just starts by being, a big enough person to just go in there and say, this isn't about me today. I'll let them do what they need to do. Nobody's ever come across I've gotten yelled at, I've gotten screamed at, and I've gotten fired. But nobody's ever come across the table and punched me. And as long as that's the case, I can take anything else.
Gotta have a line. Gotta have a line.
That's that's it. I'm like, what's the worst they can do? Yell at me for a while? I mean, that's life.
Yep.
Yeah.
I always say, to my sales reps, they're going to buy based on sales. They're going to stay based on service. So, like the renewal contract doesn't have anything really to do with sales. It has to do with the previous year's service and communication and service, responsiveness and service, and trust and service. So it's a really big deal. And the churn rate is completely dependent on it.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, we are just about out of time. Any final thoughts before we break into our closing?
I guess the only thing I would say is, that was a borderline brilliant idea if you've got a client that has an issue, go in and do a follow-up meeting. Like whenever an issue happens, whether it's never really on purpose, but things happen. If that issue happens, just get in front of it, because I promise you there's a boatload of MSPs in your area that have a salesperson that they're just chipping away, and they are waiting for that day that mistake happens. So just stay on top of it and communicate throughout the entire thing.
Yep. Nobody ever got fired for over communicating.
No. And if they did, it probably wasn't a good client to begin with. Right. So.
All right, guys. Want to take us home, Rob?
Sure thing. All right. Well, this was actually a really cool conversation today. For anybody who's going to be, looking at this, you can check us out on the LinkedIn profile, or you can see us on MSPBusinessSchool.com. And we look forward to talking to you next time.
All right, guys. Look forward to seeing you.
All right.
Thanks.
Bye.